Welcome back to the Data Protection Diaries. Welcome back to the vlog. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the hidden principle of the GDPR, and that is the principle of accountability. So how do you demonstrate that you are accountable for the actions that your organization is taking? What does it look like? What does it mean? And why does it even matter? If you are new to the channel and you're not already subscribed, please do make sure that you hit the sort of little logo button down in the right hand corner and subscribe to the channel. Of course, if you find this video useful, if you find this content interesting, please do also drop us a like, comment down below with any of your thoughts. All of these things are just really, really useful in getting the algorithm to understand that this kind of content is interesting. If you didn't catch the previous video was on the transparency principle. You probably want to go and have a look at that before you watch this one. If you haven't watched it already, you can probably click up here and follow that link through and then come back and do this one. For now, that's enough of the kind of waffle. Let's get on with what we want to talk about today. So today we are talking about the principle of accountability. Now, this is for many the kind of hidden seventh principle within the EU GDPR because it is not actually documented as a specific principle. This is slightly different if you are here in the UK, because under the UK version of the GDPR, we do actually have the seventh principle of accountability, and that is documented and it is covered off in things like the ICO website and all of their guidance. But for the main, if you're looking at the GDPR from an EU perspective, the accountability principle is kind of tucked away and hidden within the technical and organizational measures section of the regulation, where essentially you're talking about what kind of controls and measures the organization has in place and how those things are documented and how those things are understood. So how are you demonstrating accountability for all of the things that the regulation requires? The first thing probably to point out here is that when we're talking about accountability, we mean it in the general sense of the word. So being accountable for your actions, being accountable for your decisions, taking responsibility for the actions that you have taken, the processing that you are carrying out. So accountability is a very, very key part of the regulation, because it's not just about doing the right thing, it's about demonstrating how you have come to that decision. It's about demonstrating the thought process. It's about demonstrating the journey that you went on, and then being able to produce documentation that shows to a regulator, that shows to your customers, that shows to your clients, your service users, what considerations you've given, how you're going to implement those controls, how you determined what those controls were going to be, and ultimately how those things are going to be placed and operated on within your business. How do we demonstrate accountability then? Well, the first thing we have to be able to do to demonstrate any kind of accountability under the regulation is to be able to demonstrate our thinking. So looking back to the very beginning of your kind of journey of your processing activities, making sure that you've got your data protection impact assessment clearly defined, you've got your controls in there, you have assessed your risks, and you have assessed what the potential impact could be and how you're going to mitigate that. That is demonstrating that you are taking responsibility for the processing that is going to be carried out. And obviously you're making sure that you're taking accountability by documenting that thought process. It's very, very important when you're doing anything around accountability, but anything around GDPR in general, that you are happy and comfortable writing down what it is that you're doing and that you are going to be able to stand by it if you absolutely have to. The same applies for when you're looking for your lawful basis. So when you're looking at your processing activity and you want to determine what that lawful basis is going to be prepared to document why you have decided to take that approach. Be prepared to document what that lawful basis is and how you got to that decision. For many people, and certainly many organisations, legitimate interest just becomes a very easy option. It's the perfect one to pick. You know, we can apply it to absolutely everything, and that's absolutely fine. but making sure that you've carried out some kind of legitimate interest assessment, even though it's not a requirement under the regulation, is a fantastic way of demonstrating accountability. It's a fantastic way of taking responsibility for choosing that particular lawful basis for your processing. And again, as we've just said, if you are not comfortable writing down what you're going to be doing, if you're not comfortable being accountable for your actions, then you really need to think about whether what you're going to be doing or the processing that you're going to be carrying out is indeed fair, is indeed lawful, and should even be happening in the first place. Accountability is about much more than just writing things down. If you are in a position where you are writing down the things that you think you should be writing down, or your documentation, your risk assessment, your impact assessments are designed to give the answer that you are looking for every single time, then you are not going to be able to demonstrate that you are being accountable. You have to encourage the organisation, you have to encourage the culture within the organisation to think with a compliance mindset, to think about the risk to the rights and freedoms of the individuals and balance those against the commercial interests of the organisation. Accountability is a way of demonstrating that that has been done. It's a way of bringing everything together. It's a way of creating documentation and thought processes and information mapping so that when somebody comes to your organisation, even if it's a regulator, be it a client, be it somebody maybe carrying out an audit on you, you can demonstrate that you have given this some thought. It's not just a finger in the air activity. You have given it thought, you have documented it, you've gone through the correct processes, and you've kept a correct and accurate record of the decisions that were made and why they were done. If you can't do that, and you're not happy doing that, or your organisation is not happy doing that, then you really do need to look at the kind of activities that you are carrying out, the information that you are processing, and what basis you are carrying out those activities under. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this accountability principle relates very closely to the transparency principle. So if you haven't watched that video, it is a good one to watch. Because essentially, just because you are documenting things internally, just because you have that kind of internal accountability mindset, you also have to be transparent. So making sure that once these decisions are made, you are able to articulate those decisions, you are able to tell people why you're processing their information, what the potential risks, what the potential impacts of that processing are, of course, what are the benefits of that activity, but also how they can challenge you. So how can they ensure that you are being accountable for your actions? How can they get in touch with you? Who can they talk to within the organisation? Do you have a DPO? How good is your DPO? How much knowledge, how much skill does your DPO have to be able to respond to these queries? All of these things form part of the accountability of your organisation. And if you start to put each one of these things in place, you start to create the right documentation, you start to create the right mindset, you get the business thinking in the right way, you encourage the right kind of culture, you are always going to be in a good place should a regulator ever come knocking, or should you ever get a question from your customers, your clients, or other organisations. As always, this is a fairly succinct view on the world. Accountability is not a massive principle. As I say, it is kind of buried within the technical and organisational measures of the EU regs, but it is a principle in its own right in the UK GDPR. It is incredibly important though. It is something that should be on the top of your agenda, and if it's not, it's the perfect time to start having that conversation with your business, start having the conversation with your stakeholders, and see how you can drive that change forward. If of course you like this video, you like this content, please do like, comment, make sure that you subscribe to the channel as well, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks very much.